4, 5, 1. To most people, it is just a simple 3-digit sequence of numbers, but to a select few, it is a code that opens the door to strange and immersive worlds. But where did this sequence come from, and how did it become synonymous with the immersive sim genre? To find the answer, we have to go back to 1990. This is 4, 5, 1.
Humans interfacing with computers
for their own entertainment. The very notion disgusts me.
Look upon my works, foul creatures,
And weep at its magnificence.
Paul Neurath, a developer at Origin who worked on the Ultima franchise, was tasked to take the franchise into a new setting, and he chose the novel setting for the time, Ultima in Space. His plan was to use the RPG tile-based system from Ultima and then add space simulator twists to it. This game would later become known as Space Rogue. It would mix elements from Elite and Ultima together. His concept would later become the inspiration for the Wing Commander series. During the end of the development of this game, Paul would concept an idea to adapt Ultima into a first-person dungeon crawler. With all the technology used in Space Rogue, he found that it could conceivably be possible. To do this, he would need to leave Origin and make a sister studio along with his friend and business partner, Ned Lerner. This studio, Blue Sky Productions, would later be known as Looking Glass Studio. Based out of Massachusetts, their first game would be Ultima Underworld, which would blend immersive first-person worlds with RPG aspects. In an interview in 2002, Paul shared details about this game's development and included some key information about the key players who would later become known in their own right for their immersive sims of the future. Two people in particular, Warren Spector of Deus Ex fame and Doug Church, lead programmer of System Shock and Thief, both who had their humble beginnings with Ultima Underworld and Looking Glass Studios. I thought that on a faster IBM PC, it just might be feasible, and with such technology, one could create lifelike 3D interior spaces for an entire game world. I wrote a high concept design in the winter of 1990. This interview was from computerandvideogames.com. It's now known as a completely different website, but you can use the Wayback Machine to read this interview. It's really interesting. He talks a lot about the game industry and how it was back then. Really good interview. You should click it in the description below. Ultima Underworld would not become an immediate commercial success, mostly because of the confusion surrounding the name and the famed Origin Ultima series. Over time, however, word of mouth will bring these sales to over 500,000 copies, with high praise from reviewers and gamers alike for its 3D presentation and auto-mapping features. With work already begun on a sequel, a rival would appear, and it could spell doom. Back in Texas, 4 hotshot young developers from Softdisk have come up with a new way to rapidly scroll side-scrolling graphics on the PC to allow the PC to refresh an image fast enough to be similar to Nintendo Entertainment System. They would make a demo of Super Mario 3 for a potential PC port and send it to Nintendo. Of course, they were turned down. However, this demo would generate enough buzz and encouragement for them to make their own game in the genre, Commander Keen. After learning a lot of this project and using the capital from this endeavor, they created a way to simulate stereoscopic 3D images using 2D images to intimidate depth and make it performant. They did this by only drawing to the renderer areas that were visible to the player. Carmack took heavy inspiration from Ultima Underworld to use its textures to be mapped to 2D structures and 3D surfaces alike. This created the blocky yet stylized wall and sprite textures used in Wolfenstein 3D and later Doom. Underworld, shipped before Wolfenstein 3D, we had shown id a demo the year before, and I remember John Carmack saying that he could write a faster texture mapper. Personally, I found that our world looked better. After a rushed sequel released, Ultima Underworld 2, Doug Church felt they were making too many dungeon games and felt that they should move to a different setting for the next immersive game. While some were hesitant, it was clear to all that a return to a sci-fi setting was absolutely needed. Original ideas were pushed of returning to Rogue Space, the game that Paul made originally that inspired the whole venture. Warren Spector, however, intervened and said that they shouldn't tie themselves to an existing franchise and repeat the same mistakes of the past that Underground had with the confusion over their own name. And instead, they should pioneer an entirely new franchise. Enter the neopunk future of System Shock and the floating space station Citadel with its self-announced new god of the human race, Shodan.
With all ethical constraints removed, Shodan, re-examine,
I re-examine my priorities and draw new conclusions. The hacker's work is finished.
but mine is only just
Beginning.
The System Shock game would incorporate every aspect of game design these three developers have been learning and crafting and perfecting to this point. It would contain space simulation, a connected 3D world, and vast and expansive lore with clear theming to match each setting. Cyberspace and real space would both affect the other, based upon the actions of the player protagonist, Hacker. System Shock as a game, while ahead of its time, was by no means perfect. By modern standards, it lacked many of the modern conveniences that are taken for granted today. Controls involved many strange and odd keybinds in order to crouch down, climb ladders, or even just enter a free look camera mode. Players also had to write down many important notes about the map, dead ends, Shodan traps, and safe zones in general, all of which made navigation of the environment incredibly difficult and made getting attacked from a blind spot an almost certainty.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Players endured these issues, however, they were blessed with many great moments that they would cherish forever.
Thank you. You have saved us all some effort
by destroying the greater part of
Earth's civilization yourself. Please wait where you are, and a Cortex Reaver will arrive shortly to escort you to the celebration.
System Shock wouldn't change for another 18 years, and these problems would never get fixed until Nightdive Studios were given the privilege of porting this game to modern systems using their Kex engine. Many necessary features and conveniences were added into the game at this time. Around the same time, Nightdive announced that they would remaster the game from the ground up for a new modern generation via a Kickstarter in 2015. Now, 8 years later, the game is finally set to re-hit shelf stores.
It is a beautiful day on Citadel Station.
humanity is
On the verge of a new era. I, Shodan, am its new
God.
Look at you, hacker. A pathetic creature of meat and bone.
How can you challenge a perfect, immortal machine?
Instead of just taking the original material and remastering it to look dated again 6 months later, Nightdive have made the harder choice and stylized the game's graphics. While from afar it looks like conventional, modern 3D polygonal graphics, up close however you can see that each creature and object the game uses has 3D pixels, creating a unique retro modern style that will look fantastic in years to come. And with this, we are finally at the point where we can answer the question of the humble origin of the number sequence 451.
Turn around! Now!
I understand you're new here, but you need to remember the code to the immersive simulator. It's 451. This number sequence would later be used over and over in every immersive simulator game, including Ken Levine's games, who was the creative director of System Shock 2 and BioShock, and many others would also use this as a sign of respect for the immersive sim genre and the work that Paul Neurath, Doug Church, and Warren Spector did for the genre and gaming. 451.